Hey folks, we're with my friend Doug Thornton, and last time Doug and I talked, it was more about Doug as hero of the Superdome, the person who saved the Superdome. But also, Doug is senior vice president of stadiums for SMG, and one of the stadiums that you're involved in, heavily involved in, is the Oakland and Alameda County Coliseum complex.
Yes, great to see you, Zenny.
Great to see you too. It was really terrific to see you.
Yeah,
And first
great
of all,
visiting with you.
yeah, a lot of what I want to congratulate you about, including the Hornets deal, but I also want to find out. Let's do a check-in. How's the Coliseum coming along? And also, SMG is in a really arguably a battle to maintain management of the Coliseum right now, right?
Well, things are going well at the Coliseum. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to decrease the operating losses by about $3.5 million a year for the Coliseum Authority. We've done that by increasing our revenues from concerts and non-sports team bookings, about $1.8 million over that period. And we've also decreased the operating expenses by about $1.5 million. We've done that through using some of our national relationships with master service contracts and insurance, reducing the cost of insurance, also reducing some of our full-time staff in places where we needed to. So we've been able to maintain the very delicate balance of reducing cost and at the same time driving more revenues, which is what I think the Coliseum Authority wants us to do. In addition to that, over the last 5 years, we've been able to generate more business for the building. We've grown our non-sports team live entertainment programming by about 25% over the last 5 years.
That's where the monster trucks come from,
Monster
right? Which is
trucks.
actually a great show.
We actually
Yeah.
moved the Monster Truck show from AT&T Park 2 years ago, and we now have 2 motorsports events.
So anyway, stop the press. You beat Giants Enterprises.
Yes, we did.
Congratulations.
We moved Feld Entertainment,
Wow.
which is the motorsports promoter.
Yeah.
We moved both of their shows from AT&T to O.Co Coliseum. And here's how we did it. SMG controls about 1.7 million seats nationwide. We have a tremendous amount of leverage when it comes to dealing with these show promoters because they all have to go through our buildings at some point, around the country. So we talked to our friends at Feld about moving the show from AT&T into O.Co. And that's not just one show, but it's 2 shows. It's the Monster Truck and the Supercross show. Both very, very big pieces of business, probably worth about $1.2 million net operating income to the Coliseum. So that was a very, very big thing for us. We just finished the Monster Truck show. We're about to have the Supercross show coming up. So it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
So back to what we've been doing. We've been busy on trying to grow the programming. We've been growing the programming now for quite some time. It's up 25% over the last 5 years, and we have plans to grow that even beyond what we've done in the last 5 years.
And growing the programming for the layperson means growing the number of events.
Programming
and
to
right?
us
So, yeah.
is live entertainment
live
programming.
entertainment, yeah.
Right, live entertainment programming that would be non-sports team related.
Now, what do you see for the future of the Coliseum? I mean, I know it's an open-ended statement, but you're a very experienced man, and
Well, I think
there are a
couple
your shoes on the ground, literally.
Well,
so,
a couple of things. One, I think there's no secret that the teams are in a state of flux.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the A's that have been talking about leaving. You got the Raiders who've been talking about new stadium, and the Warriors, even though they've got 5 years left on their lease, talking about new arena or improvements. This is a very challenging time in the sports world. I mean, cities, have difficult, circumstances with their sports teams from time to time. Oakland is going through that right now.
Right.
We believe that our experience in dealing with these kind of issues, particularly in places like New Orleans, where we've recently done it, can help the JPA in navigating through those waters as we go forward. As the JPA develops a strategy for dealing with their infrastructure, and I'm talking about their stadiums and possibly a development plan, SMG could play a role in that. We've done it in New Orleans where we renovated the Superdome. We were the project and program manager for a $336 million redevelopment of the Superdome. And we also redeveloped an adjacent piece of real estate, which is now a mixed-use property, commercial and retail. And we're about to embark on significant improvements, about $60 million worth of improvements at the New Orleans Arena where the Hornets play. You just mentioned that earlier.
Right.
Just last Friday, we announced an agreement in principle with the Hornets to remain in New Orleans through 2024, and with that will come significant improvements and expansion to the New Orleans Arena.
So you are in a competition with AEG, and I've been very open in my distaste for the idea of AEG running the Coliseum, but this is not about that. I'd like for you to talk about this competition and how you see it playing out and why SMG should be the choice.
Well, we're facility managers, first and foremost. Our job is to represent the public authority. In this case, it's the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Authority, the JPA as it's called, to manage their physical assets and do it in a way that will maximize their profitability. Sports facilities, by their very nature, that are owned by municipal governments typically don't make money. And that's because the revenues are driven back to the teams. The teams have lease agreements that entitle them to receive certain revenue streams. Our job is to go out and generate non-sports team revenue for these for the authority, so that we can mitigate the losses that the authority has.
So this idea that SMG was making money off of deferred maintenance is a wives' tale.
That's not true. I'm not sure where that came from, but
it goes way back.
The maintenance and capital repair responsibility is the JPA's responsibility. In other words, they supply that capital. We have a budget that is approved every year by the JPA for maintenance and repair, and we carry out the maintenance obligations and the capital repair on their behalf. SMG derives no benefit from the deferred maintenance. Our fees, how minimal they may be, are a percentage of the revenues that we generate that are non-sports team related. Non-sports team event programming, things like circus, monster trucks, supercross, Prince, Bob Seger, pick a band that's going to be at Oracle anytime soon. Those are the things that we get judged by. So our fees are performance-based. We are able to earn a small percentage of the net operating income that is generated from those non-sports team events. If you think about it, it makes sense because the sports teams are entitled to receive revenues under their lease.
Right.
Parking, concessions, advertising, sponsorship, premium seating sales, which are all the revenue streams that every major sports team in America has.
Right.
So it wouldn't be fair for SMG to derive any benefit from that because the teams are generating that revenue.
Right.
It's better for us to be judged on the non-sports team programming and events that are generated there and how we manage the expense side of the budget along with that.
Now I'm thinking, because you might be watching this and saying, hey, so what does a stadium management organization do? So let's take this segment and
that's a very good question.
And talk to just, the people out there who might be, for example, in sport management programs and just want to know, what does a stadium management organization do?
It's a long list of things, and it varies from market to market or jurisdiction to jurisdiction. In the case of Oakland, we are the facility managers responsible for booking, marketing, maintenance. We're responsible for hiring all the subcontractors, hiring all the employees. For a typical game day, a Raiders game I'm talking about, we will have 2,200 workers on property. A lot of jobs, a lot of part-time labor. So we're responsible for booking, cleaning, marketing, accounting for all the revenues, and paying all the bills. Hiring all the people, supervising everything that goes on out there, from the security to the ushers to the ticket takers, parking management, the whole bit. So it's basically the whole facility management program. Now, there are some things that are outside of our jurisdiction that are either handled by the sports teams in some cases or by the JPA. For example, the bond indebtedness, we have nothing to do with the bond indebtedness, capital debt on the stadium and the arena.
What's the bond indebtedness mean to a person?
Well, the bond indebtedness would be like the mortgage on your house.
Right.
It is the amount of money that the JPA or the Coliseum Authority borrowed when the improvements were made back in the 90s to the stadium and in the early 2000s to the arena.
Except that if they default, they'll necessarily get kicked out of their own home, right?
Well, it's revenue.
Actually, yeah.
Well, they're revenue bonds that are backed by certain tax dollars or a stream of income that are usually insured, but we don't manage that. That's a separate thing that is outside our purview. We're strictly facility managers. When you walk into the stadium, if you can see it, touch it, or be involved in it, we're there. I mean, it's elevator maintenance, it's carpet replacement, it's hiring the usher that's escorting you to your seat, it's managing the security in the parking lot, it's booking the concerts, it's cleaning the building after they leave, and it's getting ready for the next day, marketing the concerts when they come in. All of those things fall under our jurisdiction.
And also, lastly, right before we close, there are people who more than likely, or less than likely, may be seeing this and seeing you for the first time. Tell them who Doug Thornton is.
Well, I'm a guy who's been in the business over 20 years, and I've been in New Orleans now for 27 years, managing the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, the New Orleans Arena, for about 16 of those years. And I had a fair amount of experience the hard way. After Katrina, had to come back.
You saved the Superdome from
led
Katrina.
the redevelopment of the Superdome, as you mentioned, a $336 million project. Been in negotiations with many of these sports teams on multiple occasions, the Saints, the Hornets, others. So I got a varied background. I came up in the sports business by way of sports promotion. I worked for the New Orleans Sports Commission. I helped create that organization there in 1988. So I was promoting sporting events before I was in the role that I'm in today, managing them. But my job today is to supervise the stadium accounts that we have. And one of the things that sets us apart, I think, from our competition is that we are the only competitor in this process that has multi-venue stadium and arena management responsibilities. For example, we manage campuses with multiple venues, like in New Orleans, where we have the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and the New Orleans Arena sitting right next door. It's identical to this situation in Oakland, where you have the Oracle Arena and O.co. Same thing in Jacksonville, where we have Everbank Stadium, and we have 5 facilities there: an arena, an equestrian facility, a convention center, a performing arts theater. Houston, same thing. Reliance campus, we've got the Reliance Stadium. We've got a convention center. It's 1 million square feet on that campus. An arena, as well as Astro Hall and the old Astro Dome. So we're one of the few companies out there that manages facilities that has experience managing multi-venue campuses where we have NFL and NBA tenants on that same campus. That's may sound like a little bit of a soundbite, but it's a very difficult thing when you start juggling the schedules, juggling the personnel, and all under one sort of banner of a campus. It gets quite challenging.
Now, I know you've been really busy. You've been on a lot of flights and a lot of meetings, but throw your curveball question. How's your bracket look?
Well, Vanderbilt in Kentucky played in the SEC tournament in the New Orleans Arena about 2 weeks ago, and I kind of thought when Vanderbilt beat Kentucky, they were going to go a little further. I was surprised when Wisconsin beat. That was the surprise for me. Duke getting eliminated, that was a surprise too. But, we host the Final Four in less than 2 weeks in New Orleans. So I'll be back there. I'm confident I'm going to see Kentucky. I'm not sure who they're going to play, but I'm betting on Kentucky, a good Southeastern Conference school.
Oh, we'll hold you to that. Hey, Doug, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Zach.
Cool.